We're up to Samich Amid Beis. We're in the sugya of Shinui Bailim, Shinui Kodesh, Yishech Shalol Lishma, or Yishech from a different person. We have a following shaila. The first wide line on Samich Amid Beis. Yiboiluhu. Pesach Sheshchatoi B'Shai Mos Hashana. Now a Pesach, the rest of the days of the year, if you shecht it l'shem Pesach, it's pasul. If you shecht it Shalol Lishma, it's shlamim. We said that yesterday. So what did you do? You shechted the November. You shechted a Pesach, l'shem Pesach, but instead of Ruvain, you said it l'shimin. You hear this? So you shechted the Pesach l'shem Pesach in November, but instead of for Ruvain, you said it for Shimon. So now, Fred Gemara Shaila, Mahu, Shinui Bailim Kishinui Kodesh Dami. Do we view Shinui Bailim like Shinui Kodesh? And if I would have shechted the Pesach like a Shlomim, it would be a Shlomim. So who I did over here, this fact that I went ahead and I took all, even though it was a Pesach, but it was a different person, so in Mela I could say that what? It's Kasha. Or do we say, no, it's a Pesach and it remains Pasul? That's what we want to know. So Amra Papa, says our Papa, Amisal Shmaitza Kamed the Rava. I said the Suya over for the Rava. Hoil v'shinui kodesh poislei bizmanoi. Shinui kodesh pasels bizmanoi. An animal bought, a Pesach bought bizmanoi. Shinui kodesh v'shechted l'shem something else on the Yudalid Nisan is gone. V'shinui bailim poislei bizmanoi. And shinui bailim also a pasel bizmanoi. Ma shinui kodesh a poislei bizmanoi. Machshirish. Let's change the girsa. Machshirish shaloi lizmanoi. Just like Shinui Kodesh, Bismanoi, it's possible, but Shalei Bismanoi is Kasha. So too, Av Shinui Bailim, Shepoisle Bismanoi, so too Shinui Bailim, which would passel in the right time. Machshiroi Lachsmana. So in other words, a carbon Pesach that I shecht on Yudalid, Shalei Lishma is no good, and Shinui Bailim is no good. So Memela, a carbon Pesach that I shecht the rest of the days of the year, Shalei Bismanoi, is Shini Bailim Mashini Kodesh Shapais the Bismana Mashni, right? Shlei Zmana. Just like if you change Shlei Lishma, so to have Shini Bailim Shapais the Bismana Mashni, right? Shlei Zmana. So we'll be Paisha the Shaila and say, let's compare times, guys. Yudalid to November. Yudalid Shlei Lishma passes, right? Shini Bailim passes, right? November Shinui Kodesh Kosha. Shini Bailim, Kosha. Right? We'll match them up. Match up Yudalid to November. And that works out. That works out. Says the Gemara, 1 second. For Amali, and he said to me, so Papa said, he said it to Rav, and Rav told him the following. Im Amit B'Shini Kodesh, if you're going to say Shini Kodesh, that Shaloi Bizmanai, guys, Shaloi Lishma, meaning Shaloi Lishma in November, Shekaim Psulei Begufai, it works because A, it's a Psul Beguf. You're going in the animal itself. You're saying this animal is not a Pesach, it's a Shlamim. The Yeshnei Ba'arba Avoidais, and it can be in any one of the 4 Avoidais in the Shchita, Kabbalah, Halacha, and Tzrika. Amar Aleph. The Yeshnei La'achamisa, and the son, if he shechs the carbon of his dead father, Shaloi Lishmai, he shechs it, it doesn't. The Yeshnei B'tzibur Kibiyachid, and there's no distinction between a tzibur and a yachid. So therefore, it has those churmis. Toma b'shinu bailim. Why would you say about shinu bailim? A, the ain psula begufay. You're keeping it as a Pesach. You're keeping it as a shlamim. You're just changing the name of the owner. The einoi ba'arba avoides, and it's only in the zrika. Only shinu bailim is only in the zrika, not in the other 3. The einoi la'achamisa, and it's not la'achamisa. After the guy's dead, the carbon, that's it. You know, once he's dead, once the ain't shame bail of all of ma'acha shemes, it's not called after him. So it's not. In other words, once the guy's dead, if you would go ahead and make it another name, that's not a shinoi. That's it, right? Because he's dead. He's not there anymore. The ain't a betziba could be yachid, and a carbon. There's no such thing as shinoi bailam, guys, by a tzibur. There's no din of shinui bailim by a tzibur. We're going to see shinui bailim is only a person who is in the same ballpark as you. Your mishana, he needed the same carbon you needed. You're an oral, he's an oral. You're tamei, he's tamei. In other words, it's got to be up. So it's sibur and yochid. You can't go ahead and parallel them. So therefore, it doesn't exist. So Fred the Gemara Kasha, you want to learn a Mehmet Sinu. You want to say the following. Just like on your Dalit, Shaloi Lishma is puzzle, and Shini Bal is puzzle, so too on November, Shinoi Shmoi works, it's kasha, so too Shini Bal is kasha. Says Gemara, how could you go ahead and sushtel Shini Balam and Shini Kaidesh? They're two different things. Shini Kaidesh is only in the bite, is in the goof of the animal. It's achamisa, it's in the four avoidus, it's in the tzibur, Masha Inkain. The other one, Shini Balam, does not have that. It only has four of them. Fred, 1 second, it doesn't have four of them. Half agav, even though the Betati Lav Dafka, two of the distinctions you made between Shinui Kodesh and Shinui Bailim don't exist. Tarti Mio Dafka. Now the Gemara is going to fear us. The Maishna Shinui Bailim will have a psula b'gufay. Big spritz. The psula machshava ba'almihi. Shinui Kodesh now psula machshava ba'almi. Guys, what's the psul of Shinui Shmai? You were supposed to be a Pesach, it's a Shlomim. We're supposed to be a Oila, it's Shlomim. Why puzzled it? The fact that it's in the animal, the fact that you're doing machshava. The fact that you're doing machshava, right? It was machshava that puzzled. So if my machshava is for Reuven, it's supposed to be for Shimon, or it's for Harry, it's supposed to be for Danny, doesn't make a difference. The same vehicle of creating the Isra is machshava. So who cares what the machshava is? It's not a chumrah that one's in the goof of the machshava is in the goof of the animal, or the machshava is in the person. It's machshava. So that's lav dafka the distinction. In other words, that distinction that you want to make, I'm taking off the chart. That one's a psul in the goof and one's not. It's about machshava. Let's uncheck that. That's not a difference. That's one difference. You said another difference is lachamisa, right? The su hadam mashini bailam ein lachamisa, because you can't change the name of the carbon. There's no shame on the carbon anymore. However, Pinchas Ravami, Pinchas the son of Ravami, dama yeshini bailam lachamisa. There is shini bailam after misa. It's Gemara in Tzvachim. My ikalamema. What are you going to say? So again, so you only have two distinctions, right? So you have distinction that difference between the tzibur and a yochid, and the difference between arba avoidus is only in the zrika by shini bailam. So again, you have two distinctions. Bottom line is you have two distinctions, right? So my ikalamema tartami a dafka, guys, right? Two of the distinctions are dafka, and therefore you should not be able to learn out shinui bailam from shinui kodesh. Why? Because Shini Kodesh is yesh b'tzibur b'yachid, and Shini Bailim is not b'tzibur b'yachid, and Shinui Kodesh is in the Arba Avoidis, and Shini Bailim is only in the Zrika. So you wanted to learn out one from the other. You wanted to learn out November from your Dalid, and learn out Shinui Bailim from Shinui Kodesh. You can't. So therefore, Ella Lashon Charata. You want a psak? What's your kasha, guys? One more again. What's a kasha? Let's go. It's Pesach, November. You're shechting l'shem Pesach, but instead of shechting for Reuven, you're shechting for Shimon. Does the machshava of Reuven for Shimon override the fact that it was Pesach, right? Ella Amarava, it doesn't override. Ella Amarava, Pesach sheshachtu b'shayim Hashana, a Pesach that you shecht in November. B'shinu ba'alim, by calling it Reuven's carbon when it's Shimon's. Nasa will view it, Kimisha Ein Loi Bailim Bizmanoi, will view it the same thing as Shinui Bailim in your Dalit, and puzzle. It will be puzzle. In other words, I'm not going to learn out Shinui Bailim from Shinui Kodesh. I'm going to learn out Shinui Bailim from Shinui Bailim. And just like Shinui Bailim on your Dalit puzzles, so to Shinui Bailim in November puzzles.
How does that mean that
the machshava of Reuven, right? If you have, I'm shechting this for I'm Shimon. I'm shechting it what for Reuven, and then I do all the others. Avoid is good. It's still a good. It's still a good carbon. The only avoida by shinui bailam is the zrika. Right. In other words, I have to. Avrami have when I'm zorik it for Shimon instead of Reuven. But Masha'en came by Shinui Kodesh. It can be any of the four. That's Allah. It's Allah in Kachem. Shechting, Zrika, Kabbalah, Halacha, good. It can be only Zrika. In other words, if you do the Shchita and the Halacha and Kabbalah, the shame the other guy, but the Zrika, the shame the right guy, it would work. Okay, so guys, so good. So now, in other words, you're going to learn that Shini Bailam, you Dalit from Shini Bailam, the Shini Bailam November, from Shini Bailam you Dalit. Very good. I like the November. It makes things like a right. Okay, now Machshav is very important. You got to get that mind clear, baby. I'm telling you, really. Pigel, Shini Bailim, the Mamish. I might about Korban Pesach Shloi Loichlov. He's a Kohen. He's a Kohen. These guys are Kohen. He's a Kohen. He's a Kohen. He's not a Suffolk Kohen. Stop it here. He doesn't come out. All the guys who think they're Kohanim, they're going to line up and they're going to say, "Oh, we thought the Kohanim." They're all going to be there, and you guys are all out. But there's one guy here who's a real Kohen. Our Powerball winner, right? Mega Millions. Got him.
I claim Ari Katz. He's my claim.
Ari Katz is your Kohen?
Yeah, I get to meet from him.
He's not here tonight. Okay. Says the Mishnah. So again, fellas, there's a very important nakuda. I keep on repeating this. I'm saying it for the third time. Usually a carbon, there's three chalachim. We spoke many times. 4 times maybe. 1, there's the avodas hadam. 2, there's the imurim, and 3, there's the basa. The most important is the dam. Yeah, the most important is the dam. If the dam works, the kohen, you're good. You're good. The kohen or you can't eat the basa till the imurim are bought. If, however, you can't bring the basa for the imurim for different reasons, the tamei or the loss, you can eat the basa. The only reason to eat the basa of a regular carbon is that it should become nicer. There's a mitzvah, in other words, don't leave it over till the morning. So it's not pshat, it's a mitzvah to eat the basa. It's pshat, it's a mitzvah that it should become nicer, right? By the Korban Pesach, it's a mitzvah to eat the carbon. And therefore, by Korban Pesach, you have a special halacha of, if I shech this carbon, almanas on people who can't eat. They're old, they have no teeth. They're sick, it won't be a good carbon. That's a unique machshava by Pesach. That's a unique machshava by Pesach. Good, and that's what I'm going to see now. Tell me about it. Actually, let's do the Mishnah first. Says the Gemara, Shachta shalei la'ichlav. If you shech the carbon, shalei la'ichlav, who shalei l'mnuyav. You're shechting for people who can't eat, and for people who were not registered. You got to RSVP. You got to register for carbon. La Raylan. We had this yesterday. You shecht for Korban Pesach cannot. The chol oral loiseich alba. No uncircumcised person can eat from the Korban Pesach. Ula tameim. No tummy person. Puzzle. It's puzzle. However, let's say you shechted for both. La oichlav v'shloi la oichlav. Now, guys, another nekuda is this has to be done in the shchita. Remember? We're going to see it has to be done in the shchita, not in the other 3 avodas. The concept of shloi la'oichlav, that even though shloi l'shma can go ahead in all 4 avodas, the din of achila, the din of this machshava is only in shchita, as we're going to see. So now, however, let's say I do both. Shachtu la'oichlav v'shloi la'oichlav. Shlachtu l'menuyav v'shloi l'menuyav. Lamulim, I shech for people who are circumcised, u'larelim, people who are not. Latameim, latahirim. I shech for tamei to people. I shech for Torah to people. Kasha, it'd be kasha. Shachtu koydem chatzos. I shech before the time. Puzzle. Mishum shenemar bein rabbayim. It says bein rabbayim. It even says erev. It's really late, right? Shachtu koydem l'tamid. Now you're supposed to shech it after the tamid, guys, right? What was the reason? Because by tamid it says bein rabbayim. By Korban Pesach it says bein rabbayim and erev. So we said yuucha dava shnemaba, right? Erev or bein rabbayim. Then something that just said bein rabbayim. One person should stir the blood that it shouldn't coagulate. In other words, you're supposed to shech the Korban Pesach after the tamid. If you don't, it's still kosher, but you should delay the zrika of the Korban Pesach until you do the zrika of the Korban tamid. Failing to do that as well, and you do the zrika of the Pesach before the tamid, it still will be kosher. Good. Now the Gemara, we're going to deal with the first aspect of the Mishnah about the halachas of shechting l'menuyav v'shloi l'menuyav. Greenfields, can you stop talking to each other, please? Stop looking so happy there. They're sitting in this. You gotta see what they look like. Tanrabanan. Ketzad shaloi la'oichlov. Who's a person? What do you mean yeshech the shaloi la'oichlov? L'shem chayla or l'shem zachin. Ketzad shaloi l'mnuyav. Nimnu alav chabur zu. V'shchatu l'shem chabur acheres. The chabura for this Karban Pesach is chabura A, and you shecht it for chabura B. No good. How do we know this? How do we know, fellas? We're going to learn out the oichlov, and then we're going to make a hekeshvat from oichlov to menuyav. Tanrabanan. It says b'michnash nefashos. It says you should. What does the pasuk say there? It says b'michna. Shimon, you have a pasuk there. Read it to me. B'michsas nefashos. B'michsas something to b'michnas nefashos tachusu.
No, that's a different pasuk.
What does it say? Okay. Michsas means the number of the people. Nefashos. Melamed shein Pesach nishchad el lemenuyav. It's only for the michsach, the people who are counted in. You got to register. Yachol shachta shaloi lemenuyav yehei ka'over al mitzvah kosher. I might think that it doesn't passel. I might think that what if you go ahead and shecht, it's so you didn't do a mitzvah, but the carbon's still a good carbon. Talmud Loimar, it says a second word. It says v'michsas, and then it says techusu. You should be counted. Hakos of shina alav, the Torah repeats it. What's it repeating it for? La'akev. The reason why the Torah says it twice, techusu, it says first it says v'michsas and techusu to tell me this machshava, if it's not for the people that are counted in, is out. Rabbi Yomi Lashon Sursi, it's a Lashon of Persian. K'adam sho'im l'chaverei koisli tle zeh. Shech for me this tle. Shech for me this tle. That, in other words, at the time of it means Rashi says at the time of shchita you have to be mechaven for the michsas, for the numbers. Okay, it means you have to have in mind the menuyav. Now, what about oichlov? Ashlichin shloim menuyav. You told me the machshava of shloim menuyav passes because it's repeated. Shloim oichlov menalad. How do you know the machshava of people who cannot eat it? How do you know that would passel? A makra. It says ish lefi achlo tachusu. So what do you have juxtaposed next to each other, guys? The word achloi, it's eaters, and tachusu, and those that you counted in. Ishkis oichlov limenuyav. We make a hekesh between the eaters and the one that are counted in. And we've already established the one counting in that machshava would passel. So who adin, if you shecht it, shaloi la'oichlov, for people who can't eat, but also passel. Amid base. Shachtoi lemulin. Now, this is very dakistic achilik. Listen to this. You shecht it for people who are circumcised. That's good. However, al menas, that who should go ahead and be yoitze in this rika, arelim. Okay, so listen. Here's what I'm doing. Guys, listen. Here's what I'm doing. I'm shechting this for fine Jews, but b'shas shchita, I have a machshava that the zrika should be for arelim. It should be for arelim. It's again. I'm shechting it for what? For right. However, I have in mind the zrika should be for arelim. Now you're going to think that this. I know. Here's what you're going to think. You're going to think the Mishnah said if I shecht for good people who are in the ballpark and people who are out of the ballpark, it works. What happens if my shechita is not a good shechita? Then even the people that are in the ballpark, it wouldn't work for. So if I do the following, if I would shecht with the machshava of what of, listen guys, very important. I'm shechting with the machshava for people who can eat it, for people who are gemalit. Stop. I now get to the zrika and I'm zoirik for people who are arelim. Everyone holds kosher because the shechita was totally good. The shechita was only for mulim. It was only for circumcised guys. And we said yesterday, when it comes to this machshava of achila, at least, and mistama for lemnuyav also, it's totally in the shechita. So once my shechita is good, I'm good. You did a zrika for people who are no good? I don't care. My shechita was totally good. But what did I do over here? In my shechita, I had in mind a zrika. So I didn't have it b'shas the zrika. I had it b'shas the shechita. So Ken Zayin that my shechita was never good because I messed it up by having in mind the reilim b'shas zrika. Because I did it in the shechita. I didn't make two separate machshavos. We said I'll be mechashev in the shechita itself. So we have machloikis between Rabba and Rav Chisda, what the halacha is. We have machloikis between Rabba and Rav Chisda, what the halacha is. It's a very, very shver sugya. Very shver sugya.
Those people who need the zrika, they don't need it.
No one needs this zrika. No one needs this zrika. No one needs this zrika. Everyone needs a carbon pesach, right? The whole shaila is that I messed it up or not.
What's the difference? If you don't need it,
What do you mean you don't need it?
You said you don't need it. They don't need the zrika.
Meaning, I don't need zrika to go ahead and mess up the carbon because once my shechita is good, I'm good.
Let's say, but the person who needs the carbon.
The person who needs again, it's not, forget the people, forget the practicality. What's the halacha the following? Forget practical. What's the halacha the following? If I shecht the carbon, and I don't have in mind anyone but good people, no matter what happens afterwards, it's good. We're not discussing that. We're discussing where I shechted for good people. However, at the time of shechita, I had in mind a zrika for not good people. Now, is that messing up my shechita for the good people or not? And they would need a new carbon or not? That's the shaila. That's the shaila. We're up to Samach Aleph on the base. Rav Chisda Amar Pasul. Rav Chisda says it's Pasul. Rabba Amar Kasha. And Rabba says it will be Kasha. Rav Chisda Amar Pasul. Why? Yesh machsheves areilim bizrika. It's shaykh the machshava vis-a-vis non-circumcised people. Taisus learns for who adin people who can't eat bizrika. And Rabba Amar Kasha. Because ein machshavas areilim bizrika. There's no machshava of areilim bizrika that would go ahead and mess it up. The Gemara now will try to figure out the source of this machlokes. The Gemara is going to figure out the source of machlokes. Very interesting Gemara. Halt cup. I'll do my best. Now, Amar Rabba, Mino Aminallah. How do I know that there's no machshava for areilim b'shas rika? The Tanya. Yachal, I might think, Yivsol b'nei chabura, haboyin imoi. I go ahead, guys. I have a chabura. 8 guys are all mulim. 2 guys are not. I might think the fact that 2 guys are not mess up the other 8. I might think that what? Yochel, I might think Yifsel b'nei Chabura haboyin imoi, that the other 8 people of the Chabura would be puzzled because of the 2 arelim. The dinhu, and that what? The following. Hoyel v'arla paiseles, since oral being an oral passes by the Korban Pesach, Vituma Paiseles, and being Tame passes by the Korban Pesach, Mat Tuma loy asaba miktsas Tuma kichol Tuma, Af Arla loy asaba miktsas Arla kichol Arla. Fellas, I shech my Korban Pesach for 10 guys. 8 of them are Tahor, 2 of them in Tame. What's the halacha? It's good? Say it's good. It's good. Good. Why did the Mishnah say? Guys, look at the Mishnah. The Mishnah says, the Tameim L'Tahirim. Doesn't it say that? Look at the Mishnah. L'mulim l'Areilim, l'Tameim L'Tahirim. Kasha, good. So now, if I shecht it, guys, I shecht 10 guys. 8 are Tahor, 2 are Tameh. It works. Who adin? 8 guys circumcised, 2 guys not circumcised. It works. That's one way to look at it. By comparing oral to Tumah, I got the checklist that it works. Yeah. There's another way to go. A klak l'derech su, which is going to passel it. What's that derech? A klak l'derech su. We'll go in another way. Donin dava hoyel v'arla paiseles, since arla passels, uzman, and the machshava of pigel passels. Okay, let's time out what pigel is. Time out. In one of the 4 avodas, I have in mind to eat or burn the carbon shalai bismanai. I'm shechting a shlamim on Tuesday. I have mine to eat it on Wednesday. Pigel. It's pigel in part, and it spreads throughout the carbon. That's called the machshava of zman. Zman. Chutz lizman. It's a chorus to eat it. Good? So now, well, I feel bad. May is coming on at 8:30. I'm nuts. May, I feel terrible.
We wanted to come, and a lot of people wanted to come. Champanina wanted to come, but I told everyone no because
Right.
I told
Maya, are you looking at you didn't look at your WhatsApp? Maya, you're muted. Okay. Maya, we started at 8 o'clock.
Okay, sorry.
No, I'm sorry. I sent it out. I sent it out on everything.
All right.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Thank you. No problem. Thank you.
You could stay on. But what? You didn't get it.
it's over.
No, it's already 8.
You also walking at 8:30, right?
Really, 1 minute. Let me just get my headset. I mean my pods. Are you muted, man?
How to say, because Rabbi Ratkin is saying she has 9 o'clock. I don't know. I think he's just Shovim. I think just Shovim. I think he usually says upstairs, but today.
Yeah, only for Shovim. Only Shovim.
Only Shovim he says down here?
Yeah, I think, yeah.
Okay. Okay, anyway. So now, guys, watch. If I go in the derech of Tameim, it's going to be okay. Just like Tamei, as long as there's 8 guys that are good. I use number 8 arbitrarily. Just like that works, so too what? So too Arla will work, as long as you have people who are mulim. Or I can go to another way to passel. What's the other way? Pigel. Says the Gemara. Let's see. Or we can go this way. Or let's go this way. Hoyel v'arla peseles uzman paselba. Zman asaba mitzas man kechol zman. Guys, if you're machashed in one kizayas of the animal, it goes on the whole animal. Af arla asaba mitzas arla kechol arla. Even if you have sam arelim, then it's going to go ahead one and pass. So guys, 2 drachim. Guys, look at my hands. One hand, if I go compared to Tameim, then I have a check, it works. If I go to Zman, if I go to Pigel, it doesn't work. Even if there's 2 or if there's 1 arelim, it's not going to work. So now the Gemara is going to say which direction does it make more sense to go in. Does it make more sense to compare it to Tameim, or does it make more sense to say it's okay, or make it go towards Zman and say it's not okay? That's what the Gemara wants to do. Okay, says the Gemara. Nearer Lemi Diamond. Which one is the more comparable? Is Arla more comparable to Tameim or more comparable to Pigel? Don and Dava she'ena noyig b'chol azvachim. I'll judge something that's not noyig in all zvachim, right? Midava she'ena noyig b'chol zvachim. Guys, Arla and Tameim. If you're in Arla, can you bring a carbon? If you're Tamei, can you bring a carbon? Yeah, you could send it. You can send it. Good. The uniqueness of Arla and Tamei are only by what? By carbon Pesach. Good. So therefore, it makes sense to go ahead and compare Oral to Tamei because they're both common, right? And do not learn out Orla from Pigel, which is in all Zvachim. So therefore, if I go in that way, clearly Oral, even though as long as I have Samulim, it will be a good carbon. Because I'll learn just like Tameim. If you have Sam Tameim, it's a good carbon. So too, if I have Sam Arelim, it'll be a good carbon. There's never guys, an oral can never eat from the carbon Pesach. A pigel can never be ice pigel. But guys, if Roiv of the Tzibor, Roiv of the Kahanim Atame, you know what we say by carbon Pesach? Tuma is Hutra B'Tzibor. I'll learn from Arla, from Pigel, or don't learn out from Tuma, which is Hush Mechlala, which we're going to see. So fellas, basically, what do you got? Look at me. Let's set it up. we have a shaila. What's a shaila? We want to know, Rava wants to know why the machshava of Zrika that I have b'shchita doesn't make a difference. Because he has a limud. We're trying to figure out if I have partially guys who are okay and partially guys who are not okay, what's the din? But vis-a-vis oral, and according to Tosfos also shloi leichla. But let's say, just for brevity's sake, let's say also just oral. So now you have a majority. You have 8 and 2. I just picked that number. 8 and 2. 8 good guys, 2 Arelim. If I look to Tameim, I'm okay because I have 8 Taharim and 2 Tameim, I'm okay. If I go in that direction. However, if I have a little bit of Zman and a lot of Pigel, it's not okay. So therefore, I'll go in that direction and say it's possible. Which way to go? I have no distinct way to go. On one hand, it makes sense to go in this way because Tumah and Arelim are unique to Karban Pesach. On the other hand, Tameh has a heter b'tzibur. Oral never has a heter b'tzibur. Oral never gets a waiver. Tameh gets a waiver. Mashenkin Zman doesn't get a waiver, so therefore it makes sense to go in that direction. So I have two things tugging in both direction. What's the halacha? What's the halacha if I have a majority? If I have some Arelim and some Mulim, what's the halacha? I can't figure it out from Tameim. I can't figure it out from what? From Zman. So therefore, since I can't figure out Mehmet Sino, I must have a pasuk. So what does it say? What state in the Torah? Tamid Loima. Therefore, it says the pasuk says fellas Zeis. It says Zeis chukas Pesach, and it says Kol Oral Lo Yichol Boy. Guys, Zeis chukas Pesach, and what does it say? Kol Oral Lo Yichol Boy. Any oral should not eat. Zeis, ma Zeis. Elaim with the kula Orla Pasla, all Arelim Apostle. Miksasa, but only partially loy pasla. That's what Zeis is teaching me. Hi mi kol oral nafka. I'll learn that from kol oral. Only all arelim, but partially not. Elalav hochi money. Here's what you're telling me. Oh, this is Rosenzweig also. He just popped on. You didn't know. Huh? Oh. So now. Elalav hachiktani tamaloyman v'chol oral v'chol oral kula orlo pasla miksasalei pasla. So therefore, I will learn from kol oral teaches me only oral relim and not part of them. The chitema who adim l'zrika the kula orlo mia pasla. If you're zoyrik for all arelim it would pasel. Guys, that's a shaila, right? I did the shchita with on the Menasfa people who are mulim. However, the zrika was done totally for arelim. Tamalayim azois. The shchita who the kula are lamia pasla. Ava b'zrika afilu kula are manami pasla. Only by shchita are all arelim pasla, but by zrika not. That's what the chitem and my kula the zrika. Why do we apply the zois to what? Why do we apply the zois to shchita and not to zrika? The machsheves oichlin b'zrika. Because there's no machshava oichlin b'zrika. When you go, we said yesterday, the machshava of shleil oichlin is only in the shchita. So Rabbi says the following: I have a pasuk zos to teach me, zos by the shchita and only by the shchita and not by the zrika. Rav Chisda adarabba says Rav Chisda leida chisa. I go in the other direction. Rav Chisda is of the opinion that the carbon would be pasal. It says v'chol oral kula oral pasla, mitzasalei pasla. Aval zrika afilim mitzasanami pasla. Guys, by shchita, if you have partially arelim and partially mulim, it works. Masha Enkain by zrika, even partial with pasel. The chitema who had in the zrika that had only all of them. The adika kula arla until all of them are arelim. Does the zrika pasel? Lay pasla tamalay mezois shchita who the mitzvah lay pasla. It's only by shchita that mitzvah not pasla. Aval zrika I feel the mitzvah pasla. The chitema my chumah the zrika the lay mekabel pigel. Right? Mikvah pigel. What's the chumrah zrika? Mikvah pigel el zrika. So therefore, he learns out the zois to go ahead and say zrika. Everyone would passel. Zrika would passel even mitzvah. Now, this was all predicated on when you say the word v'chol oral. It means every oral and not what, and not just partial oral, but every oral. Fred Gon Maska Rav Ashi, Mimai the Hai V'chol Oral Kula Mashma. How do you know when it says the word V'chol Oral is Kula Mashma? And both Rabbi and Rav Chisda brought into that. Right? Dilma Hachi. I could read the following: V'chol Oral Mashma Kol Du Orla. Anyone's an Orla with Pasel. Kasser Achman is Zois. The idea Kula Orla. So maybe Zois is not to teach me a din in Srika. Maybe Zois is to tell me that that only Kula Orla Pasla and not what. And loishna b'shchita, but loishna b'zrika. There's no difference in the shchita. There's no difference in the zrika, right? Everything would passel. So therefore, if that's the case, what's the machlokes between Rava and Rav Chisda, and Rabbi and Rav Chisda? If you don't have a source for zrika, where's your source? If you don't have the zois, can't be used. Elo Amar Ravashi, Rav Chisda v'Rabba Amar Aleph Ba'ikra Kliga. They argue the following pasuk. It says by the Karban Oila, v'nir tzaloi lechaper alav. V'nir tzaloi, it'll be marutz. It'll be accepted for him. Lechaper alav. Alav v'lei al chaveroi. This teaches me the guys of shinui bailam. The Karban is mechaper for himself, but it's not mechaper for his friend. He brings it for himself, not for his friend. Rabbi Sava chaveru dum yididei. This is what we said by Karban Sibra and Yachid. Chaveru has to be similar to him. Mahu debar kapara, just like he's in the ballpark. Av chaveru debar kapara, he's in the ballpark. Kapara here, guys, means that he needs a Karban Pesach. Lafuke high oral. This would exclude an oral. The la bar kapara, who he's not in the ballpark. So that's what Rabbi says. Rabbi says, guys, for near tzaloi means you do this rika lechapra love for the guy who needs it. Who needs it? He needs it. And his chaveru has got to be similar to him. Who's similar to him? They both get. They both be young to the Karban.
Like on the other hand, like on the other hand, right? They're very sensitive.
But somebody figured out how to unmute themselves there. So now, guys, listen up. V'nir tzaloi l'chapala. What are we going to darshan? V'nir tzaloi al yidei the ritzoi, the zrika, the chapara will be good for him. So now, on him and not his friend, but it's got to be his friend similar to him. An oral is not similar to him. Therefore, Rabbi says, if you do the zrika for arelim, doesn't make a difference. It's okay. And that's that. And Rav Chisda said, no. Hayol nami kivin de bar chiyuvahu bar kabaruhu. This oral, since he's what? He's a bar chiyuv, right? He's chayiv. It's a legal loophole that keeps the oral out. The oral's a Jew. He's chayiv in Karban Pesach. He just can't bring it. He is a bar chiyuv. You're a chassan's potter from Kriya Shema. Normally he's chayiv in Kriya Shema. He's potter from Kriya Shema. A legal loophole. When the guy gets Gemala, will he be chayiv in Kriya Shema in Karban Pesach? Of course he would be. So therefore, it says Rav Chisda. Listen to the following: Kivin de bar chiyuvahu bar kaparuhu hoyel why hoyel di boy mitaken nafshe. So now he says the svara of hoyel, since he could be mitaken himself. Therefore, what? He's a bar chiyuv, and therefore the zrika could be for him, and therefore it would passel. According to Rav Chisda. And tomorrow, Hashem, we'll get into the svara. Tomorrow, Bez Hashem, we'll get into the svara of Hayel. But the Hayel, Chisda holds the Hayel, doesn't hold the Hayel.
Because the ticket can happen before